Hi everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel and welcome to another free class week. I'm so happy you're here. We're going to have some nice gentle tangling this week, and that's it. A little breath, a moment of gratitude. Everybody is welcome here, no matter where you are in your creative journey or your Zentangle journey. Our tiles are going to be Zentangle forward. We're going to keep them simple with supplies, a regular black pen, whatever you want to tangle on, a tile, a journal, a scrap piece of paper, anything, whatever you have. The purpose of this week is to get together in community, even though we're on technology, do simple pen strokes, tiles that we can complete in less than an hour, and no fuss. This is where you can ground yourself, relax. I invite you to set aside your inner critic. You are creative, whether you believe it right now or not. You are creative and you can do this, and you don't need the inner critic telling you that you can't do this. So relax, get grounded. We're going to have a moment of gratitude, and then we're going to get right into our tile today. The moment of gratitude can be whatever you want it to be. We're going to do just a couple simple inhales and exhales at your pace, whatever that pace may be. And for this moment of mindfulness, we're just gathering our focus to right now. We're setting aside what might be happening later today. We're setting aside what might have happened prior to this moment. And we're just grounding ourselves in the breath and the moment right now. Really fill up your lungs. Think of good positive energy when you inhale. And when you exhale, think of releasing wherever you're holding tension, body or mind. Today's affirmation: my mind is peaceful. Take a moment to have your own moment of gratitude. If you need to pause and come back to the video, please do that. We are in no rush. Take as much time as you need. Okay, so before every class, if you don't know, I randomly choose an affirmation. This is from my affirmation deck. I randomly choose an affirmation and I put it under camera. A lot of people wanted to see the card, so this is the one that I randomly chose for today. All right, so I'm going to be working in a 5 tile. This is 5 by 5. This happens to be a Zentangle branded tile, but it doesn't matter what you work with, like I said. I love the 5 tiles because it gives us just a little bit more space. I tend to be a tiny tangler, so I can fit a lot in here. But if you want to go smaller, you can absolutely go smaller. What we're going to do today will adapt to any type of space that you have. I am going to show you the tile. I don't always do this, but I think for this one, a visual is nice, just to see where we're headed. Your tile should look different than this. I'm not putting it up here for you to copy. This is just so that you could get a visual when I reference something or reference a tangle pattern. You have a visual. So we are going to do Diva Dance Rock and Roll. We are going to make an interpretation of a flower, but it doesn't have to look like a flower. You don't have to put the stems on there. But my tangling tends to go botanical because I love wavy lines, but doesn't have to be like that. And then we're going to do a 5 cops border on 3 sides. The right and the left and the top, and the simple stems, which isn't really a tangle pattern per se. We're just going to put some leaves down there. So we're going to start right with Diva Dance Rock and Roll in the center. I'm going to work with an 05 pen, micron, You can do whatever size pen you want. Like I said, these supplies are for you to pick. There is no judgment on what you use. Okay, so we're going to start here. Diva Dance Rock and Roll. Let me just write this down for those who don't know this tangle. And this is a Zentangle headquarters. This is a Zentangle headquarters. Tangle. So they're the ones who deconstructed this for us. We're going to go right in the middle. We're going to do 3 of these flowers. I'm going to walk you through the first one. You're going to start with this big type of a swirl. So it starts out like printemps, if you know that tangle. If you don't know tangle names or you're new to Zentangle, it doesn't matter. I happen to know tangle names a lot because I teach and it's my job. But if you know how to draw something but you don't remember the name of it, that is okay. Don't beat yourself up about that. So we're going to do that little swirl, and then I come into the center and we're going to add this little bump and color it in. And I'm going to walk this line and add these little bumps, I guess. I don't really have a better word right now. And they don't always have to be the same. In fact, it's more interesting if they're not the same. So I'll do little ones and I'll do big ones. One thing I did forget to mention at the beginning of this recording, I'm going to go today at my own pace just to keep the video a little bit shorter. If you need more time, if you want to enjoy your pen strokes more at your own pace, just pause the video. But for me, I'm just going at a good medium pace just to keep the video a little bit shorter, the size of the video a little bit shorter. Okay, so I do that little swirl and then I add those little bumps on there. We are going to continue where we left off with that line, and we're going to aura, which means mimicking a shape. And every time we put a line or a little bump, now our aura goes wavy. I make it all the way around. Maybe I'll go a little bit further from where I ended. And this new aura that I just made, I'm going to do the same thing. Now, I'm going to try to add bumps, not always in the same places, because in the end, I do like a little rounder of a I want to say flower. I guess it's a flower. I like a little bit more of a rounded shape in there. And if you keep adding in the same spots, it's going to grow in a wonky direction, which is a great exploration. If you want to just see what happens with that, go ahead and do that. Okay. So I'm adding these bumps, big, little, tall, short, make them abstract, and then aura. And you're just going to keep repeating this process until you get the size of the rock and roll flower that you want. Sometimes you can even keep auraing. You can go around twice if you want. You can see what happens. But just keep following. Okay, so a couple reminders now that we're starting to tangle. A nice loose pen grip. You don't want that tension going up your arm. And your writing hand stays nice and relaxed and in the same spot. And you're going to turn your paper to fit the comfort of your hand. And I will say that that phrase, the comfort of your hand, changes. Some days I turn my paper a whole lot, and sometimes I don't. My hand is comfortable as it is. But just let that be. Every day is a little bit different. If you're new to tangling, welcome, first of all. It is a phenomenal mindfulness tool and an art tool. It runs both ends of the spectrum. So one of the things we do in tangling, we talk a lot about perspective. Sometimes we get so close to our work and we naturally want to critique it and pick it apart. Sometimes perspective changes it. So when I say perspective, you're going to take your tile and you're going to hold it out at arm's length. I'm on the camera here. I'll hold it out at arm's length and just look at it with some perspective, with some distance. And when you do that, it's a moment of appreciation for what you're doing in the process and appreciating the big picture. Okay, so you're going to keep working that Diva dance rock and roll until you get as big as you want. So this is our first one. I think I'm going to keep this one about this size, and when you're ready, you're just going to get that aura done and then attach it wherever it makes sense to attach it. You'll just close off that little tail. Okay, so we're going to do 2 more Diva Dance rock and roll designs. Notice that this is the first one I did. My second one is here. Notice it's a little bit bigger and you want it to be drawn behind a little bit. You don't want it to be separate. You want it to connect and then draw behind. If you're not familiar with the draw behind term, it just means that when you come around with your pen stroke and you hit something that's already there, you're going to lift your pen off the paper, continue drawing that line in the air, and when you get beyond whatever's in the way, put your pen back to the paper and continue. That's called drawing behind. The physical nature of lifting your pen and continuing the motion in the air makes a difference because your hand has memory. And when you can lift your pen and just keep it in the flow and then continue, it will look more connected instead of stopping, picking up your hand, coming back, trying to see where it connects and going on. Keep that flow going. That's part of the mindfulness of what we're doing here. All right, so my second one's going to be a little bigger tucked behind, and my third one is tucked behind both of them. And I meant to make it a little smaller, but I think I was in the zone and just kept going. So, all right, so go at your own pace. I'll give you some nice quiet time to tangle. And we'll get all 3 of our Diva Dance Rock and Roll flowers done. And remember to go at your own pace. Pause the video if you need to. Remember to breathe. It's very easy to hold your breath when you're focused. Okay, for me, I think I'm good with that. I got a little wonky flower over here, but I think I'm okay with that. I embrace the wonky every now and then. All right, if you haven't in a while, take a nice good deep breath. If you are still tangling, please pause the video and enjoy your pen strokes. Do not rush. Like I said, I'm just going at this pace for the recording. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there, and I'm going to grab my pencil because I want to just sketch in the stems. I started to go to pen with this, and there were, I wish I would have changed it in some practice ones. So just with my pencil, I'm going to come in, I'm going to think of this center of that flower, and I'm just going to pencil in a stem with an aura. And you can have them go any direction you want. But for me, this was just a better visual. I think I had a stem coming out the weird side of a flower at some point. So very, very light sketch. I think you can see that on camera. And then hold it out, make sure that's what you want. We can go back to pen after that. We can go ahead and trace those stems loosely, you know, if it's over the pencil line or not over the pencil line, but pretty close. I'm rounding where it attaches to the flower just to give it a little bit more weight, and I do like to round the end just a little bit. All right, and all we're going to do on these is add just some random, very easy leaves to this design. This can be poke leaf. If you want to actually use a tangle pattern, you can put any type of a leaf-ish shape on this. Poke leaf is coming to mind as an obvious one, but I'm just going to do a regular sketching type of a leaf. And to do that, I start on that stem and I do this little flick mark. So I start on the stems, which is called a takeoff. If you're not familiar with takeoff and land, takeoff just means that when you start your pen stroke, you're not starting right where you leave a line. You're starting back a little bit further and you're retracing a line and then going off in the direction you want to go off. All right, so I do a little flick mark. And then I take off from that line and I do a C curve to a point and a C curve to a point. C curve, S curve, whatever you want. Now you can do that in one motion. So here's a longer flick mark. You can go up and then down. You could play with a whole bunch of different things. And I am just going to scatter these along my stem. I'm going to change the scale and do some little ones. I'm not looking to fill this in totally. I'm just giving a nod to the fact that Diva dance rock and roll looks like a flower. We are not in any realistic creative space right now. This is tangling. It's really non-representational. We really aren't trying to make it look like a flower, but these this tangle pattern just naturally, it happens. And you can see I'm just scattering. Sometimes I'll do little clusters. I'm going to mention one thing, and this is whenever you tangle, and for all the tiles this week. This is the way I'm drawing this leaf. Always be open-minded to trying something different. If this feels awkward for you, what if you turned your paper upside down? And what if you made that flick mark in this direction? And you made your leaf in that direction, because it feels more natural for you to come with your pen stroke towards you in that respect. Okay, so always, if something just feels off, or you're curious, maybe you're just curious, does it feel more comfortable going from one direction or another? You can always turn your paper in a different orientation and approach a pen stroke from a different location, top to bottom, left to right, whatever that means to you. Same for lefties. If you're a lefty and you need to alter a direction, that's all good. Please make this your own. It's not about making your tile look like mine. It should look different. It should have your unique style, pen stroke, flow, whatever you want to call it, on the paper. Okay, so I'm going to say it again. Pause if you need to. I'm going to go ahead and do the border and keep this one moving along. The next tangle we're going to do in the border is called Fops, and it is by Laura Harms. And this is the tangle along the edge. I'm going to break this down. It is a very cool but very easy tangle to do. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to work my way up, over, and down. I'm going to orient my tile this way. And what you're going to do is you're going to make a bit of an S curve. So notice that that's not a full big curve. It's a little bit of a shallow. The most important part of this curve is right here at the very top. And you may be going the opposite direction. That's okay. But whichever way you start is the way you want to do all of them. So I'm going to continue, and I'm going to do an S curve. And they don't all need to be the same height. Just let your hand move through as long as you have that curve at the top, all in the same direction. So you would do that all the way around, but I'm going to do the pattern, break down the tangle pattern here. The next thing you do is you're going to look at the outer curve. So when I'm looking at a curve like this, this is the inner curve and this is the outer curve. Whichever way you draw your S curve, you go to the outer curve first. Start at the top, and you're going to do a C curve. Now this is on the outer curve edge, right? Here's my original S curve. Here's the outer curve side. That's the direction that you put this pen stroke in. And what you do is the same thing, and when you hit the next S curve, you stop. So start at the point, come down with a C curve, hit the next S curve, and then you stop. And you can hit that S curve higher or lower. That's something you can play with, right? So we did this S curve to the edge. Now we did this C curve on the outer curve edge. Now we're going to continue that C curve. So here was the C curve we just did. We're going to continue that line till it hits. And I'm going to turn my tile this way so you can see me do that. Continue that line until it hits the next little wave. So see that little space that you made? And then all you do is color in that space, which I'm going to choose a thicker pen to do that. So let me show you something on this tangle, because there's a lot of ways you can play with it. You have these S curves, right? And you'll go around with all these S curves. How far you space them out, how close they're together, all of that is playtime. What if? Just ask yourself, what if? The other what if is when you do this C curve, if you come higher versus coming lower, watch the difference. So this one I came up high. When I continue, I get a little gap. When you attach it down low and you make this connection, you get a bigger gap. See the difference? So where you land on that second pen stroke doesn't matter. There's not a right or a wrong. It's just a different look. And even though I have both of them in the same line, they're fine. One is small, one is large, but they all work together. So what you're going to do is you're going to continue Fops up and around and down. Now let me show you how I do the corner, because it just dawned on me that that's probably going to be valuable. So as I'm approaching the corner, I'm going to get maybe 2 more S curves in here, and I'm looking at my spacing. Once I get to about there, maybe an inch or so, I turn my tile and I do an S curve right into the corner. Turn my tile, give it some space, and then I continue my S curves going along the edge. So when you come into that corner, your process of doing the step out is exactly the same. Make that second pen stroke on the outer edge. No different, even though that goes into the corner. No different. No different. And then when I connect, it's just a little closer together. No big deal. And that's how you do a corner. Okay, so you can continue all the way around. I'm going to do all my stems S curves first. And for coloring in, I'm going to switch to an 08 pen. Just to make it a little bit easier. If you don't have an 08, you can absolutely color this in with an 01 or 05 or whatever you have. Oops, I started to put a line there in the wrong direction. This should be this way. And I have an extra line there. I'm just going to ignore it. It doesn't bother me. I'm hoping you can't hear the noise outside. We got some snow and ice all morning and the snow plows are out there. So I apologize if you hear some loud noises in the background. All right. So there's our tangling. While I have my thicker pen in my hand, before I go to shading, I'm going to do one thing. This is with a thicker pen or an extra line weight if you have it with whatever pen you have. This outer edge of the Diva Dance Rock and Roll shape, the flower that we have going on, I am just going to darken the outer edge because we want that outer edge to be more prominent than the inside auras, and it just helps things set apart. So with my thicker pen, I'm just going around, no fuss, to that outer edge and just making it a little bit thicker. Noticing I didn't color in very well. I've got a bunch of spots in there. I think I'm getting it. My pen's getting a little tired from all the tangling. All right. One other. Okay. So there's our tangling. Okay, when you come back after you're done tangling, you're going to switch to graphite, whatever graphite you want. I have a Zentangle pencil here that is probably down to 1.5 inches or so, so I have it on a pencil extender. This can be any graphite you want it to be. So the first thing I'm going to do is You'll notice me holding my pencil with this type of grip. I also do this type of grip, it's not a problem, but I like this grip. So it is between my two fingers and I'm holding it pretty horizontally, and that avoids a sharp line in my graphite. The more vertical you make that pencil, the more you're using the fine tip of the point, and then the harder it is to blend. So I like going really horizontal. I'm always pointing the tip of my pencil towards the area that I want to be the darkest. So I want to shade where my flower shapes overlap. So I'm just doing soft circles like that. That first flower shape overlaps, and then where the second flower shape overlaps. And then with my tortillon, just going to soften those edges. So you can fade out your graphite without a tortillon. If you take your time, you can come in here, shade back and forth. I am doing round circles. Fade and fade off. So lighter pressure, and then fade off and get that nice blend without a tortillon. For these types of tiles, I don't necessarily have that patience. So I usually just come in and get a good amount of graphite right along the edge that I want, and I let the tortillon do the work. Okay, so I'm going to keep going to all the graphite steps. You pause to watch and complete, or watch them all together. It's up to you. I want to add some dimension to my Diva Dance flowers. So what I'm going to do is look at an area where I might have the auras going all in the same direction. So all of these auras, when I squint, I see like a valley here. I'm just going to add a little bit of graphite in that valley, and then I'm going to blend it left to right. So I'm not blending it very far. And this is a bit intuitive. Like, you know, right here I see a lot of these auras going in the same direction. That's a good spot. That could be a valley. And if you don't have things like that all going in the same direction, like here it's kind of chaotic, with the graphite that's on my tortillon, I might just fake it and just put in a little bit of graphite. So see the dimension you've got in that very simply. That's all we're looking for. We're not looking to overshade this. We're keeping it very simple. Hold out your tile. This is when holding out your tile can really help. Squinting your eyes will also really help visualize these areas. And we're in playtime. If you put it down and it doesn't do anything, okay, no biggie. All right, so I'm going to leave my flowers just like that. That's all I need to do. We're in basic Zentangle mode. For my stems and leaves, I'm going to add just a very slight bit of graphite in the stem and at the bottom of each leaf. With my tortillon, just blend out the left side of that stem. If it's thick enough, it might not be thick enough. Maybe you just shade a little bit of the stem. So I'm trying to make it a little darker on the left and brighter on the right. And then in my leaves, I'm just blending up the graphite just a little bit. So the top of my leaf is light and the bottom of my leaf is dark. My tortillon's pretty dirty, so I'm going to clean it off by just shading my leaves with whatever graphite is on my tortillon. As you can see, I did all of that shading on these leaves without adding pencil at all, because my tortillon is quite dark. Remember that whatever you're using to smudge picks up graphite. So the more, you could see right there how dark that tortillon is. So if I put graphite down on the paper and I smudge it with the tortillon, it can get too dark. So using it this way is just a way to clean off your tortillon and add graphite. If you don't know, another way to clean off your tortillon is a little emery board. You can scribble this on a piece of paper if you need to take some of the darkness away. Okay, so that's all I want on the leaves. Very light shading. All right, and the last two places that I'm going to shade, I'm going to orient my paper this way because I'm right-handed. And I'm going to put graphite where each of these little Fops panels overlap. And then I'm blending this out. So see how you get that little bit of shading there. And when I'm done with that, I'm going to run graphite just on the inside to give myself a soft, faded off inside edge. Okay? So you could go ahead and work on all of those together. For all of the videos this week, I kept the tiles and the designs what I call gentle tangling, and which also leads into gentle shading, meaning we're going to add details that don't take a lot of time. They give us a little bit of interest in our tangling, but we're not going to spend a lot of time doing a lot of rounding, several layers of shading. You can absolutely add that to any of the designs this week. But for the purposes of grounded mindfulness, gratitude, getting your pen in your hand and just doing some nice tangling that you could start and finish in one session, my goal was to keep things a bit more traditional, even though we are doing a flower here. Keep things a bit more traditional, approachable, gentle. That I just keep coming back to that word gentle creativity, gentle tangling. And there is value and purpose in that. There's value and purpose in doing details and creating big masterpieces, but there's also value in the relaxation that you get, and we don't really care what it looks like in the end. We just happen to make art. Whenever you're finished, remember your chop. Our chop is just our initials somewhere on the front of your artwork to honor what you created in your mindfulness and Zentangle practice. And then we sign in the back. And as always, when we're done, take a nice good inhale and exhale. Have a moment of gratitude. Thank you so much for tangling with me today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it inspired a whole bunch of ideas for you, and I hope I see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye.